Good afternoon everyone. It's an honor to me to be here in this online forum from CU to talk about sustainable mobility. I'm Ángel Duarte Sastre, Professor of Transport Engineering at Algeciras School of Engineering and Technology. This presentation is a work related to sustainable mobility as a tool to boost active learning from the Sustainable Development Goals in civil engineering. In particular, we are going to show a case study from transport engineering. Civil engineers have a relevant role to achieve sustainable development. Our work concerns the current situation of the city, its model or its strategic design, its functioning and use, and the quality of life it offers to those who live in it. We are particularly interested in the perspective of what awaits the city in these times in which the lack of quality public spaces, traffic problems, urban pollution, climate change and its consequences on health are a fact. The importance of transport for climate action is further recognized under the United Nations. The transport sector will be playing a particularly important role in the achievement of the Paris Agreement. Given the fact close to a quarter of energy-related global greenhouse gas emissions come from transport, and that these emissions are projected to grow substantially in the years to come. In the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, sustainable transport is highlighted across several SDGs and targets, especially those related to food security, health, energy, economic growth, infrastructures, cities and human settlements. Imagine cities with quiet streets, clean air, easy and equitable access to work and school, and vibrant community life. Imagine families that travel from their rural home to a city center and then on to visit relatives in another country using a combination of road, rail, waterborne and air transport. And imagine goods crossing borders efficiently, reaching their destination on time, with minimal environmental impact so that people get what they need and economies develop without compromising opportunities for future generations. There is an important question that civil engineers can ask themselves when we think in an urban scale. What turns a city into a place you want to call home? A city that works is a city that you want to be in, to enjoy, make use of, and living. But do our cities work for everyone's needs? The vision of a city in which not all citizens' rights are put into operation becomes evident when we analyze the role of urban mobility. We detect a great gap in the analysis of the training of civil engineers in relation to sustainability. We have been designing a series of methodological resources that have been introduced in subjects related to transportation, planning and management. When we talk about sustainable mobility, we consider to give priority to walking, cycling, public transport and shared light electric vehicles too. It promotes travel through integrated, socially inclusive and environmental friendly options without depending on privately owned vehicles. The recognized importance of transport and mobility for sustainable development is dealt to articulate a series of strategic action lines that allow the SDGs to be introduced into the programs of the engineering and infrastructure subjects. The subject has become, through these courses, a space for learning the general concepts of sustainability and other more specific concepts of sustainable transport and their transdisciplinary relationships. The European Federation of Engineers, FIANI, has proposed the SDGs where engineers have more impact, focusing on the 6th, 11th, 9th and 11th ones. To put in practice the introduction of SDGs in transport engineering subjects, we focused on two important work strategies. To introduce the concept of sustainability, concern for the environment and ecosystems in the field of transport engineering through sustainable mobility, and take advantage of sustainable mobility to integrate the SDGs. Our final selection to initiate the introduction of the SDGs has been to identify those that better fit to the transport engineering subjects of the civil engineering degree. From FIANI recommendations, the 2030 Agenda on Sustainable Development and another one, that is the fourth SDG, which we consider that is appropriate for our case. Of each SDG, the 2030 Agenda indicates some goals and objectives that must be achieved, and some of them can work in our subjects. The tools used to boost active learning through sustainable mobility involves actively engaging students with the course material through discussions, problem solving, case studies, role plays, and other methods. We particularly focus on 3 learning actions: a specific and multidisciplinary bibliography on sustainability, the selection of subjects where to conduct active learning, and specific final projects and dissertations of the degrees and master degrees. Throughout the last courses, we have been incorporating bibliography related to sustainable development and developing specific actions to publicize these concepts through sessions in which it was the students themselves who took part in an active way at the time of comment on the books. A task of writing a journalistic article on one of the books of the basic bibliography is incorporated from a session that some of the books are put on the table, so that are the books who catch the attention of the students. Among the 4 SDGs we have identified as applicable in the subjects of the transport engineering area, we analyze which could be better adjusted to the subjects. An analysis of the expected learning outcomes in each subject is carried out to establish which SDGs of the identified ones can be experienced. Once we have already identified the learning outcomes on which to incorporate the SDGs, we analyze in what lessons of the syllabus we will introduce active learning actions on sustainable mobility. We model a useful problem-solving method, teaching within a specific context like, for example, city making, through case studies, and we help students understand the problems. They take enough time, ask questions and make suggestions, and altogether link errors to misconceptions. Each lesson contains a specific question to which students should know how to answer. A good part of the subjects include the resolution of a practical case as a final work, where to experience the introduction of the objectives pursued in sustainable mobility in the field of railroads, the design of cities, intermodality, energy efficiency in transport, or logistics. For the development of these final works, the future transport engineers have to analyze some criteria that are closely linked to the sustainability and SDGs, such as budget, functionality, social impact, environmental impact, improvement of the mobility, etc. Students are proposed to study different alternative solutions through multi-criterion analysis. Each student will deliver a written memory of work with drawings and budget, as well as scientific poster to ISO A2 size, where the alternatives studied and the results of the multi-criterion analysis are explained to value the aspects related to the sustainability of the project. The final work and the scientific poster must be exposed in an oral communication in class. Each academic year, we program a worksite visit in which we approach the knowledge of some transport infrastructure that has been recognized for its contribution to sustainable mobility. For example, the tram system of Granada, the port of Algeciras, and even logistics terminals in which intermodality as part of the sustainable mobility is enhanced, and where students know firsthand the operation that takes place in them. As for the final works in the degree and master's degree in civil engineering, the sustainability criteria studied in class have also been incorporated in order for future engineers to show their vision about the usefulness of sustainable mobility in professional practice. In particular, we have developed interesting projects that have served as the basis for the development of solutions in nearby municipalities and defined the design for a new reality in metropolitan mobility. Thus, more than 30 final projects have been developed in relation to sustainable mobility under criteria contemplated in SDGs. If we consider that cities are in a constant transformation, civil engineers and particularly transport engineers must be open-minded in city making to adapt the challenges of the near future we have. Thank you for your attention.